Hello everyone. I'm going to start with a new chapter, Anthropology as a Discipline, and the name of the book is Amber and Ember. Let's first have the definition of anthropology. So anthropology is the study of human in all time and place, which means it studies both modern and the ancient society. Then it is also an objective, holistic and comprehensive study of human society, which means all the aspects of human existence are studied by this discipline. The aspects are biological, cultural, social linguistic, ethnographic, and even the practical ones. Now let's look at the literal definition of the word. So anthropology is a Greek word which is made up of two root words, anthropos, which means human, and logos, which means study. And then the question comes into mind is why was there a need to create such a discipline, such a comprehensive discipline? It was because in all human populations of all cultures, they are full of universals and differences. Universals here it means similarities. And for the students of civil services or even the students of anthropology, this is not difficult to imagine. This is not difficult to know that all in all, the whole world is a mosaic of or a crisscross of different cultures. So, since the technological revolution, which all of which can be clubbed into globalization, all the technological revolutions. So, such revolutions, such communication proximity, they have brought people face to face, and even if they do not bring anyone much closer to what they have been, the virtual presence on internet or social media, it has given a sense of proximity or the real-time presentation. Because of that, right now we are able to see all the differences and all the similarities that are available and prevalent in different cultures. But when these disciplines started, it was first to study those similarities and differences. So anthropologists, they seek to answer the questions such as when and where and why human appeared on the earth, then how and why humans have changed, different lineages, different species, different subspecies, and how and why the biological and cultural features of modern human they vary in terms of different cultures. Then the applied side also come into picture because we are human population and we need to solve practical problems, and anthropology it comes at handy. Then looking at all these, it appears that anthropology it incorporate a whole catalog of discipline which may include sociology, psychology, political science, economics, history, human biology, and even humanistic disciplines of philosophy and literature. Such is the width, such is the comprehensiveness of anthropology as a discipline. Then let's have a look at the scope of anthropology. So yeah, it is this discipline, it is concerned explicitly and directly with all varieties of people throughout the world. And if you are not aware about it, different varieties of people here means both the biological and cultural diversity. So biological ones, maybe they are talking about races on the broader term, which may include Caucasoid, Negroid, Mongoloid, and Australoid. You will read about them further in the next chapter. Then the cultural diversity, which need no mention. Here, the cultural diversity or differences, you can see them in the ceremonies of marriage, the death ceremony, various festivals, rituals, religions, the lifestyle practices, food habits, dressing patterns, music, languages. So anthropology seeks to study all such variations, and they are also interested in people of all periods. So it is not that they just want to study the modern society. They are also interested in studying about the ancient one, which begin with the immediate ancestor of human, the primate stock, the Homo habilis, the Homo habilis, the, the Homo erectus, the Neanderthal. Then let's see how the discipline started in the first. So traditionally, the anthropologists, the first generation of anthropologists, they concentrated on non-Western culture and left the Western civilization and other complex societies. So it may appear that this behavior started as some kind of hobby or some kind of collection activity, or it might be that the earlier people, the earlier class of anthropologists, they might be interested in exotic cultures, which they they would have studied from some travelogues or maybe by words of mouth. But it appeared that all in all, the earliest version of anthropology, it was not comprehensive one. Then let's see the motivation of anthropologists to choose such a broad subject for study. At first, it may be motivated by the belief that any suggested generalization about human beings, it must apply to all people. And if it does not, if this generalization or explanation, it does not prove to be applied widely, then skepticism arises. And this skepticism is the best motivation to, to dig further. The other explanation for this paragraph is that there, during the during all the time that preceded the 21st century, when the communication network, when the internet, when the virtual world, when the social media, the all such technological advancement were not in their full disclosure. They were not available like they are available now. And in such a case, every culture which could not be traversed with the means of transport available at that time, they were considered exotic. And it was generally believed that people, whatever their culture was, however they were living, they believed that the same pattern of living, same lifestyle practices, they will be shared by and they will be lived by the people of all all sections or people of all cultures. Anthropology, it seeks to dispel that attitude. It wants to show the actual working of, it wants to show what other cultures think, what other cultures practice, how the people from other cultures and other time they live and have lived. And anthropology also seeks to correct mistaken beliefs about different groups of people. An example is given here. So when American educators they discovered in 1960s that African American school children they rarely drank milk, so they mistakenly assumed that it was because of lack of money or lack of education. But then the evidence suggested that it was not because of monetary or educational backwardness, but it was because of lactose intolerance. Lactose intolerance is a biological condition in which an organism or a human, he or she cannot digest lactose that is present in milk. So which is why some people they stay away from drinking milk. So the reason many people lack the enzyme lactase that is necessary for breaking down lactose. The lactose is the sugar in milk. So when such people drink regular milk, it interferes with the digestion, and not only the lactose in milk not digested, but other nutrients they are less likely to be digested as well, and the digestion of which may cause cramps, stomach gas, diarrhea, nausea, etc. So this milk intolerance, the lactose intolerance, it is found in many parts of the world, and this misconception it has been dispelled by anthropological studies. So this is the reason, the factor, and the motivation for the genesis of this particular discipline. Then let's have a look at this holistic approach. So anthropology it studies many aspects of human experience as an integrated whole. So when anthropology study any group of people, they are likely to look at all possible domains such as physical environment, history of particular area, how their family life is organized, the family tree, the general features of their language, the settlement pattern in which they live, the political and economic system they employ, and the religion and the style of art and dress which they practice. So all such domains, also dimensions are taken into account, which makes the discipline a holistic study. Then let's have a look at anthropological curiosity. So anthropology is the all-inclusive human science. And then comes the question, how is anthropology different from other disciplines? So this distinctiveness, it lies principally in the kind of curiosity this discipline arouses. So anthropologists, they tend to focus on typical characteristic of human populations. And this is the first difference, which is they look at population or larger group rather than smaller groups. And they may come across such questions as such as why do some population have lighter skin than others? Why do some society they practice polygamy? When did when and where did people first start to farm? And such questions they lead anthropologists to look at larger groups and larger patterns. Then difference with the economy. So economists they take monetary system for granted and study how it operates in present society. But anthropologists they ask frequently how monetary system was first developed, and what are different monetary system in the world, the variations that exist between them, and why only some society have had them during the last few thousand years. Yes, the first difference in short is they do not concern themselves with individual or smaller groups. Then anthropology it views human group holistically as a larger group, and this curiosity lead them to find patterns of relationship between seemingly unrelated characteristics. So for example, the presence of ability to digest lactose is in population seems to be found in society that depend heavily on dairying. So here they have found the pattern here that those people who can tolerate lactose called lactose tolerant. So this tolerance it is available in those populations that depend on dairying, they who work in dairying or who have their own dairy farms and uh, are bestowed with large supply of milk on daily basis. Then let's have a look at the fields of anthropology. So all in all, there are two broad classifications. The first one is biological or physical anthropology, and the second one is cultural anthropology. And now the four fields of anthropology have been given here, which are divided into biological anthropology, anthropological linguistic or social linguistic, and the third one is cultural one, which has been divided into archaeology and ethnology. And there also another field, the practical side of it, which is the applied anthropology. So here you can see the two classifications, the first two major classifications. The first one is biological anthropology and the second one is cultural one. So while biological anthropology is one major field, but cultural anthropology, it is divided into three subfields: archaeology, linguistics, and ethnology. Now let's have a look at biological anthropology. So biological anthropology, it seeks to answer two distinct set of questions, which is which are first, human paleontology or paleoanthropology. It asks question about the emergence of human and their later evolution, which is the first question that is answered by biological anthropology. And the second one is how such population, how contemporary human population, they include large variations. So to reconstruct evolution, human paleontologists, they search for and studied the buried and hard remains which are called fossils, such as paleontologists working in East Africa, they have excavated the fossil remains of human beings that lived more than 4 million years ago. And in attempting to clarify evolutionary relationship, human paleontologists may use only the fossil record, but the geological information on the succession of climates, environment, plant and animal population. Moreover, when the past is being reconstructed, paleontologists, they are interested in behavior and evolution of closest relatives, which are the prosimians, monkeys, and apes. So whenever the study of human paleontology is coming into fore, we we first try to study or trace the relationship with other primates. So primates were the group is an order of mammals which uh, which is divided into um, lemurs, lorisidae, and tarsiers, simians. They are all, you can say, all of them are our evolutionary ancestors. So paleontology, whenever it seeks to study human behavior and the evolution of our closest relatives, and the closest relatives are prosimians, monkeys, and apes. They also studies the other member of the order of primates. Then one specially subject of this study is chimpanzee, because we share 99% of our genes with them. Then the next step, it is the inference from primate studies. They are checked against the fossil record. And in short, biological anthropologists, they piece together bits of information that is obtained from different sources. Then they construct theories that explain the changes which are observed in fossil records, and then attempt to evaluate their theories by checking against the evidences that has been gathered by them. So that's how uh, paleontology it comes into picture. Then the second major focus of biological anthropology is to study the human variations. So right now, all members of present species Homo sapiens, they belong to single stock, single species. They are no subspecies, but still they are variations. Which are why are some people generally taller than others? How have human adapted physically to environmental condition? Why some people such as Inuit or Eskimos they are better equipped than others to endure cold? So such variations, such variations in skin pigmentations, in physical features, they are also studied by biological anthropology. Then comes to cultural anthropology. So the term culture, it refers to customary way that a particular population or society thinks and behave. And in short, it is the lifestyle of a particular group of people, the way people live. And it may include many things such as the languages that people speak, child rearing practices, the role assigned to males and females, to religious beliefs and practices and preferences in music. So all such learned behavior, they have come to be called the culture. Then the first subfield of culture, cultural anthropology, it is archaeology. So archaeology is the study of past culture which are studied through material remains. So by such excavations, archaeologists they seek not only to reconstruct the daily life and custom of people, but also the trace cultural changes that happened across various time and various strata. So one difference here between historian and archaeologist is there. Since the subject matter of both historian and archaeology look similar, but historians they deal with society, they deal only with society that have left written records, which is only 5,000 years old. So historians they have been studying human society from 5,000 years to uh, recent history, maybe around 500 or 400 years old. But archaeologists, which is a branch of anthropology, it studies human society from the beginning. So that's the first difference between history and archaeology, or historian and archaeologist. And here, human society have existed for more than a million years, and it can be said that archaeologists they serve as historian for all those past society that lack the written record. So archaeology it may concern it may study human society from, you can say, 2 million years old to present, while historian they study society from 5,000 years up to present. Then next point, most archaeologists they deal with prehistory, which is the time before written records. But there is also a specialty within archaeology called historical archaeology that studies the remains of recent people who have left written records, which means they are studying population which are 5,000 years old or younger. Then to understand how and why ways of life have changed through time in different parts of the world, archaeologists collect materials from sites of human occupation, and those materials must be unearthed because uh, because of depositional work of different life and geological processes. Material remains of a particular time, a particular century, or even a particular millennia, they get buried away with time, or the or other depositional feature may take its place. So in order to study those society, they must be unearthed, and on the basis of material that have been excavated, there are variety of questions that are answered. Some of which are: where, when, and why did this distinctive human characteristic of tool making first emerge, and where agriculture first developed, and where and when people in at first started living in cities. Then let's have a look at anthropological linguistics. It is it is anthropological study of languages, whereas there is another discipline by the same name, linguistic, which also studies languages. But the difference lies in that linguistics, it concerns itself with the written languages, the languages that had been written. So similar to the work of historian, they also concern themselves with the past 5,000 years or earlier period. But anthropological linguistics, they concern with languages that had not been written. So here their work, it it studies changes that have taken place over time, and they also look at the contemporary variation. So this historical linguistic, it is the study of how languages change over time and how they may be related, whereas the structural linguistic, it is the study of the contemporary variations among languages. The difference of both the historical linguistic and the structural linguistic, it is that historical one, they deal with the languages that are usually unwritten, and since unwritten languages they are transmitted orally, the evidence, it also dies with the speakers. So those historical linguists, they reconstruct the history of the unwritten history of language. They start from the present by looking at the variation, by comparing the contemporary languages, and on the basis of these comparisons, they draw inferences about the changes that may have occurred in the past, and on the analysis of such differences and similarity, they arrive at the grammar or the dictionary of the historical unwritten languages. Then, unlike historical linguistic, structural linguistic, it concerns with discovering and recoding the principles which determine how sounds and words are put together in a speech. In short, it is concerned with the structure of languages across different contemporary culture. So here the example is given that in American Samoa, one could say one could speak both the words, and even with the interchangeability of T and K, the pronunciation of both will be same and the meaning of both will be same as well. Then comes the role of social linguistic, and they are interested in social aspect of languages, which include what people speak about, how they interact conversationally, and how their attitude towards speakers of other dialect and languages change. Then let's have a look at ethnology or cultural anthropology. So Ethnology, which is a subfield of cultural anthropology, it seeks to understand how and why people today and in the recent past differ in the customary way of thinking. So, ethnology, it primarily studies the cultural changes across different cultures, and the basic questions that are sought here are: why is the custom of marriage nearly universal in all cultures? Why do families live with or near their kin in some society but not in others? What changes result from introduction of money to previously non-monetary economy? Such questions are answered by ethnology. And the personalities that has the anthropologist that is associated with cultural anthropology or its subfield ethnology, it is known as ethnographer, which usually spends a year with living with people whose custom is being studied, and the recorded description, it is known as ethnography. Then there are also cross-cultural researchers who studied more than one culture, and then pattern across the cross cultures they are studied. So the patterns that are finally deducted are what characteristics are universal, what traits vary, and what are the consequences of those variability. Then let's have a look at practical side of anthropology, applied anthropology. So the technological breakthrough like DNA splicing, spacecraft docking, the development of many-scale computer chips, all of such innovation, they could not have been possible without basic research. So such basic research also comes handy in while studying human society, and this is also true of other social sciences. So if a researcher finds out that society with competitive sports, they have more wars, so this may lead to finding the pattern of relationship between aggression and war, and such knowledge may be useful to correct such social problem or stopping incidences of family violence and war. So applied or practical anthropology is explicitly intended to making anthropological knowledge useful. So here some are examples of a usefulness of anthropological knowledge is given here, such as biological anthropologists, they may be called upon to give forensic evidence in court, or they may work in public health or design clothes and equipment to fit human anatomy. And archaeologists, they may be involved in preserving and exhibiting artifacts for museum or to preserve cultural sites. Linguistic may work in bilanguage educational training program. Ethnologists or ethnographers, they may be employed in wide variety of projects that include community development, urban planning, healthcare, violence reduction. So all all such activities, they are intended to solve problems that are practical, or solve problems that concern with human behavior, human personality. So such to solve such problem and to find a way out is the ultimate objective of practical anthropology. So this is it. We will proceed about relevance of anthropology in the next chapter. Thank you very much. Kindly subscribe the channel.